Feeling your feelings instead of thinking them. I want to chat with you today about something that has come up so many times, practically every session. This particular thing shows up, and it's really useful to know what to do with it. So, the subject is around your feelings, and first of all, why might it be of value at some stage to feel feelings? It might seem obvious, first of all, that you are feeling your feelings, that emotions are there to be experienced and you are experiencing them. But a lot of the time, what people are doing due to various reasons, including what they tell themselves about themselves and also how they've responded to events early in their life. But for lots of reasons, they may have found that it wasn't necessarily accepted, safe. They didn't feel free to express their feelings, even to themselves. They've learned to suppress those feelings. And what they do instead is they think them. A form of their feelings they intellectualize, and so they're not actually experiencing them. Now, why is that important? Well, the reason it comes up as important is at one stage or another, those feelings are there for you to meet. It's part of what you're holding. It's an old aspect of your early life where you have held some feelings in relation to events, in relation to how you experience things, and they're showing up in your life. And one of the reasons this comes up in client sessions so often is because I can feel other people's feelings, and often I can feel the roots of those feelings. And so I have the sense that those things might be getting in the way, perhaps, of them having clarity, of making decisions, of being able to connect to other people, to being able to do some of the things that they'd like to do in their life. And they don't understand why they're almost creating sabotage, and they're sometimes quite aware of that, why they can't unlock these patterns. And it always comes back to what they were thinking fundamentally early in their life about themselves and how that's grown coming forward and what they were feeling. So feeling your feelings is a really important way of kind of clearing some emotional weight that you might be carrying and not identifying with that anymore and not creating new events, new occurrences from that place. And so I'd like to give you some tips on how you can feel your feelings. So number one, if there are emotions that you're aware of that you feel, I'll address that. Actually, first what I want to do is talk to you about why how you can see that there are those feelings there, if this is making any sense. So for me, what I notice is that there is, first of all, that feelings get triggered. And so, excuse my kind of slowness coming up to this. I'm feeling a little bit tired today, and I feel like I really need my coffee, actually. But in the absence of coffee, bear with me because this is an important subject. So back to where I was. So they have these feelings that show up in their life, and the way they show up. So let's say you have some sense of, one example I used earlier today is, you had some childhood experiences that made you feel very overwhelmed. And so every time later in life, and let's say, your coping mechanism at that time was just to retreat from anything that overwhelmed you. And so go forward in time and decades forward or whatever in time. And now every time you feel really overwhelmed, you want to retreat. But sometimes you're finding that's not really serving you. Perhaps you're working in a company and you often have stressful events coming up and a lot of things happening at once, and you're required to be able to meet those circumstances. But you find that what you do is you can't meet those circumstances. You miss deadlines and you can't always deal with what comes up because you're busy retreating, because it's actually triggered that original feeling of overwhelm that you had as a child. So this is why it becomes very important to understand that. So that's what I talk about when I talk about patterns, but also why it's important to feel feelings, the original feeling, and to understand that that's there for you to meet it. And that's all you need to do. But what what people say to me quite frequently is, I don't know how to feel these things. How do I get to that point where I'm feeling them? So I often give people little exercises, and what I decided to do today, because the question came up again today, was to try and make a video on the subject and just put together all of the little tips that I give people so that you can do this for yourself in your own lives. So, okay. If you, let's say we're going to go with the feeling of overwhelm. Now, you have to first know that you have these feelings. You have to be aware that they're there. Otherwise, there's nothing to really connect to. And I also want to add that sometimes I am aware that they're there by the absence of something, that somebody's reaction is either really reactive, first of all, so I have a sense that there's something stronger there. It might seem a little disproportionate according to the circumstance that's happening, and that usually gives me a sense that in some way it's connected to something earlier, but sometimes it can be disproportionately empty of response, and that is a kind of reaction. So it could be no reaction, a kind of void in a sense, but it's not a void because it's actually very active with suppression. So there's some clues. Nevertheless, you have the feelings. How do you feel them? So what I would suggest that you do, there's some, I don't want to call them tricks. It's such a bad word in the sense that it's like cheating something. It's not really that, but helpful tips, if you will, that can help you connect to your feelings. So what I recommend to people is try and remember an event. If you know what feeling you're dealing with, try and remember as early as you can go in your life an event where you felt that way. And, any time in your life, actually, and then see how far back you can go with that. Usually connecting to those memories and the feelings of those times will help you connect to the feeling. So that's one thing you can do in order to feel the feelings. Okay, so the other thing that you can do is you can look at things connected to your childhood. They often stir up memories. Old letters, things from your past, things that you've saved from when you were younger, anything at all like that. Anything that has the scent of your childhood. Sounds really weird, but it's one of our, if not the most potent activator of memory that we have. So perfume, cologne, smell of bread, baking, whatever it is that connects you to your childhood, that can be very useful for getting you back to those original feelings. Music, playing the music connected to the people that you have these feelings and memories with. So the music that they played, the music that you grew up listening to, the music that you played during that time in your life, or that was kind of a backdrop, that can be really helpful. Anything at all that will just kind of draw you back, because all of those things have associations, excuse me, in your mind. And therefore, when you bring those up, the feelings will come with them. So that can be incredibly useful for getting you to that point. Speaking to anybody that was part of that time in your life can sometimes also bring up those feelings. Let me see, is there anything else? Yeah, water. Water is an amazing communicator of emotion and amplifier of emotions. So if you put yourself in a hot tub or a shower, that can be one way that you can connect to those feelings. So, and then when you do connect to them, the importance of it is to be able to meet them. So that means go right to the center of the intensity of the feeling. Allow yourself to experience the intensity of it. Keep on breathing, very important. Obviously you're going to be breathing, but breathe deeply, breathe consciously, and allow yourself to feel that feeling in its entirety and for it to flow through. Feelings were designed to be flowing, and there's no good or bad here. There's no right or wrong, but it's just an opportunity for you to meet something old that hasn't been really met before, and to allow that to just disperse. Don't do it with the thought of getting rid of it. Nobody wants to feel like they're not accepted. Even that part of you doesn't want to feel that it's not accepted. Just accept it. Just accept it and meet it with neutrality, and you'll find that you will lighten your load. And I apologize for the little bit of the confusion in my expression today. As I say, I'm just kind of gathering myself. I'm going to go out and get coffee. but I hope this helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me.